One.
Oh, so this is episode 3 of SI Lab. Lab stands for Laura and Brian. So we are the hosts of this show, and we have 2 special guests today, Anna and Linda. And we are going to be talking about feminine SI, which both Anna and Linda have as a savior. And we're also going to be talking some about personalization of SI.
Excellent. Yeah, so why don't we start? Why don't we have them each say what their shave is, for in case anybody that's viewing doesn't know them. Alphabetical order. Anna goes before Linda this time.
Sure. My shave is FM TESI, last, sleep, consume, play. Yeah, there we go. I was like, is that right?
And mine is FM TESI, last, play, sleep, consume.
Right. So for anybody watching, you know, there's 4 of us here that are quite similar to one another. However, up until now, Laura and I both have masculine century, and we had Dave, of all people, on episode 2 to talk about the SI-SE distinction, and he's masculine century. So all things point to it's time to talk about, and here's the whiteboard, feminine SI.
Well, I'm already the odd one out because I'm the only lead SI. And I'm a single learner, so.
So, okay, so we don't know what a feminine SI is directly from personal experience. So why don't you guys, either one of you guys, just take it away and tell us what it means to you. Okay, Linda goes first this time because Anna went first because alphabetical last.
Good luck.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so like feminine SI, I experience, in my understanding, is more like a process, not a thing. That it's like, even though I'm double activated savior sensory, it's like the sensory isn't real. The sensory is interchangeable. It's really about the concepts, those are real. Yeah, so it's like feminine SI will move. It's sort of, I feel like it's like, okay, the sensory is solid, but feminine SI can move around what is there, rather than like butting into the sensory and pushing on it. It's like, okay, where are the gaps, where are the holes? And then like my path will move through those.
Wow.
What do you think, Anna?
Oh gosh, I can't say that I've ever thought of it that way, but you could also be right. It's movable, right? So maybe I can see it that way too. Feminine sensory to me is manifests quite literally for me in many ways. I think most anyone would see how present it is in me, and it's at the forefront of everything I do. I think about it when I wake up. I think about it when I go to sleep. It's my personal environment, how much time I invest into my home and my physical presentation, and what each of those attributes imply and mean to me. Like, they are very well manifested over time, and I'm just building it slowly. Yeah,
that makes all the good sense. So play a game with me now. Imagine if you were to have both of you guys, you say you have feminine SI and you just express how that comes across to you. Imagine that you have a magic button and you can shift it over to masculine SI. What would change in your life, priority wise, or how you wake up in the morning, go to sleep, as you said?
I would just remember what happened. It wouldn't be like, well, I think it was something like this, but I don't remember who said it or when. But it might be my own idea. But I don't really know, but I got it from somewhere.
So the feminine, the fluid, the flexible, with recall, is that what I'm hearing?
No, it's because it's what I remember are the patterns. So it's like it's like I'll, whatever, I need the sensory because that's what I use to create the pattern and the concept and the understanding. But then once I have that, I forget what I built it from. But it's like, I know this happened. I know this is happening recurringly. Don't ask me how I know. Don't ask me what experiences go into this like pattern and concept and prediction that I feel is so certain, because I don't remember that.
Wow. That almost sounds like a little bit of the way some folks have described the NI a little bit. I'm not quite sure if I have that correct, but I've heard somebody say that along the way.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I've heard that like feminine SI can look like NI. I mean, I've heard that a few times. But yeah, but I mean, like really trying to articulate what the difference is. I don't think.
Yeah, it's a difficult thought
How would you
exercise.
articulate the difference?
So
I suppose
the
it's
one
where
thing
what
you
you're
got out,
responsible
said out of
for.
that I caught was maybe a little bit more specific memory versus the generalized components of it. Linda?
Yeah,
Did I
with
figure it right?
masculine SI, I feel like that is what would be a big difference.
Okay. So Linda, Laura, do you have any questions for them related to that?
Well, I was going to ask Linda, like if she had like a specific example of like when she says, I'm just moving around the sensory, but then I thought maybe that's not a good question because maybe she won't remember a specific example for sensory feminines. Maybe I shouldn't ask that question.
If you ask me now, maybe 3 days from now, like I'll just keep thinking about it and thinking about it until it's like, okay, there's an example, but it's
okay.
Not...
Go ahead and post it in the comments of the video.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think what I see is the big difference between like Brian and I with his masculine sensory is he's better at the blast because it's like he has all of his information organized. And so then he can just like one by one in order, pull it out. Whereas for me, it's like, pulling a magician's scarf out of a hat and I just keep pulling. I don't know where it ends. I don't know what's in there. I'll just keep talking and then I find out along with everyone else what I'm saying.
Yeah, same. I relate to that. It's a very, very sloppy blast.
Is it kind of like you're not sure where you're going at first, but you figure it out as you go along?
It's like I have this feeling, I know something related to that, but I don't know what it is that's related to that until I start talking. And then sometimes it's like, okay, I can't find what it's related to, but I have this feeling that it's related.
And since blast is so obligated to just start saying something, you're like, well, hopefully somebody will catch on to what I just started.
Right.
Yeah, and with TE, tend to talk things out and the realizations come as you talk. So I guess that supports the recall in this. If I talk for a while, it'll flow out of there eventually and I'll be able to recall the specific.
Well, yeah, that's play processing. So it's like processing in the moment.
Play?
I guess, do you find that when you do play processing, I don't know, does it help you access the SI? Like you do enough playing and eventually you, oh yeah, now I know that SI. I mean, does it work like that?
Both. Like I think it helps me find the SI and the NE. It's just like the NE is demon too. And so it's like, as I start talking, it's like, oh, now I remember this other thing that's related to it, but that I couldn't just in my head think of. I have to put it out in the world and watch it take shape.
Okay, this may be completely wrong, but somewhere along the way, I believe somebody said something about FM, it's got a visuality to it, right? And so it's, FM is feminine sensory, SI in this case. So by talking it out and having that FM modality, does that help you to maybe visualize it and it coming to you faster? It's okay.
Hannah, you want to feel that one while I'm thinking about it?
Okay.
I can say something in that moment. I definitely have a really strong visual memory. I definitely see it before I say it. And actually, I was just talking to Joy the other day about FM kind of characteristics, and I mentioned that I see the picture in my head, and as I am describing it, and can't, sometimes I don't even remember the word for the thing that I see in my mind, and I start drawing it with my finger because I see it, and I'm like, okay, and then this thing is over here, and then expect everyone to follow along as if they see the picture with me. Can't you just see that thing right here in this corner? Very very frustrating sometimes, but Joy was like, oh my god, yes, I do that too.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Linda, do you do anything like that?
Yeah, a lot of times when I'm talking, I'm seeing an image of one and it's like a little different because then when the image and I'm saying is a description of the image. Does that make any sense? It's like when I'm thinking, it's like I'm actually like it feels like I'm touching and seeing like shapes of concepts like puzzle pieces. It's like, oh, does it fit this way? Or maybe this other piece fits here. Like it literally feels like I'm putting them together.
Mm.
So are you like literally picturing the pieces in your mind, or?
Yeah, but it's not like they have a distinct shape like a puzzle piece would. It's more like there are these three-dimensional ideas. And it's like, oh, wait, this is reminding me of that one. It's kind of like a magnetic pull. This one's magnetically attracted to that concept. So it's like, oh, I think those go together. And these are the reasons why those go together. And then it's like, well, how can I make sense of both of them? And so then I build another concept around both of them. And so it's like, that's how I'm picturing what I'm doing.
Mm. So I'm curious about, that process of recall as you're describing it in academics, because Linda, you've accomplished quite a bit in academics, I know. And so how would that come to your advantage as to how you would, bring in information and then let it go out when it's supposed to?
I think just in the way that I described, so even like if I'm reading something or writing something, it's like that's still what I'm picturing in my head, and I'm just writing the words down, which feels like the words feel like I'm describing the outside of it. It's like, okay, it has this shape and this corner over here, and so that's just what ends up getting put into the words. And then when I study, I have to rewrite in a summarized way the main concepts that I want to remember. Then later when I take a test, like I can remember where it was on the page that I studied it. And I can sort of then zoom in. It's like, oh yeah, that's the answer because it's right there on the page. That's where I wrote it next to this other thing in purple ink.
Spatial awareness, sort of like where it was on the page.
Yeah. And what even my handwriting looked like as I wrote it. Was it neater or was it really sloppy? Was it sideways?
Yes.
So say if you had a cheat sheet and there was stuff all over the place, you kind of like know a region to go to and then narrow in there.
Yeah, it's a reminds me of. So it's okay. I'm thinking, they ask a question and the question immediately reminds me of this page in this notebook that I wrote in with the blue ink, and it's up in the corner, and it's like, what was it that I wrote up in the corner? And then it's like, okay, now I can focus in on that, and that's what I wrote. So that's the answer.
Wow. So it's like guideposts that lead you to the specifics.
Yeah, and it's always a reminds me of, and that's how I end up getting there. But it's like, if you don't give me the initial thing to ping off of, if it's just pure recall, I have no idea. Like, when people say, tell me about yourself, like, come on, give me something to work with. I need something to ping about that. I can't just come up with something.
Okay. I was always very good at like geography, that kind of stuff. Like it's because it's relational, right? You have a point of reference. if you know what is the neighboring state, then you'll remember what the next state up is, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, when you build the visual map in your mind. Or, you know, some silly tests they'd make us do in school, like remembering all the bones in the body. Well, okay, I'll probably never need this again, but at the time I did mentally recall all of this stuff in relation to each other. And
Like, do you like the song, the hip bones connected to the, you know?
I don't know. No.
No, I know, but you know, or something, you know, like, but do you kind of remember like this bone's connected to that one, so that's connected to that one, and it's like a chain, and then
Well, that's kind of how it works,
okay.
Visually, mentally, yeah.
Okay.
About the song.
Well, some of the audio, but I mean, just
yeah.
gets connected to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Similarly with spelling has always been easy, because I just sense when a word looks wrong.
Yeah.
Looks like it's spelled wrong. Yeah.
So so Ms. Worth, maybe masculine might be more discreetly looking at all the letters specifically. You just have kind of a look, feel, visual scanning of it. Oh, it looks wrong. Is it like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I might not know where it's wrong, but I know that it looks wrong.
Wow. Well, that's very fascinating. Kind of pull this
I
apart.
guess you don't do that.
Finally, last example, just because I thought about all of these, sleep processed all of this, is doing math in my head, unfortunately, is the slowest thing in the world, because I have like a chalkboard in my mind. So I will physically have to write out 13 plus 15. Okay, 3 plus 5 is 8. And then you carry over. It's just literally a chalkboard. It's not effective or efficient.
So again, it's a visual type of representation. So it's the visual of the FM seems to have gives you a boost to how you specifically use your SI.
Yeah, I have to see it. I can work with it if I can see it. If I can't see it or create a shape for it or something, then I can't work with it.
All right. So what else do we have to say about feminine SIs? Has anything come to you that we haven't talked about yet? Distinction between masculine or feminine, or just anything in your lives?
I definitely think that in a way I can imagine masculine sensory being quite easy, in the sense that, I don't know, maybe this is just how I perceive it, but to just short circuit to the things that you know you like. You know, there's no or in the physical world of like you know, you just know that you like something, so you will do them. Like I know I like this shirt. I will forever like this shirt, and I will always come back to this one shirt. It's easy, like point to point. That's how it feels.
I wonder if that's more like SI sleep, because you talk about like liking it. I mean, that's kind of FI. So we think it's FI in there.
Maybe I am
influenced by FI, but I can see SI sleep being like that, kind of there's like that permanency and solidity to it. Like I like it now, I will always like it.
Well, that's what I'm saying about masculine.
Yeah, I can kind of relate to that.
Right.
Yeah, masculine SI.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm just like, I don't know what I like. Today I like this. For this quality, I feel, you know, I feel goofy today. I'm gonna wear green. It's a goofy color to me. I don't know. These kind of, I'm associating these qualities with like characteristics in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how else to describe it, but it would be very convenient to simply know to go to the one thing that you know that you like all the time. I just think about people who have a very distinct style and can wear like all black every day or something, and I look at them with envy, in a way of like, you just know who you are, your identity is set. Maybe this is not as
that classic INTJ stereotype, right?
Maybe.
Turtleneck. So cool.
So I guess Brian, I mean, you have like double masculine SF sleep, but like, do you kind of relate to that? Like I know I like this and I expect that I will like it forever and it's more solid there? Or are
Yeah,
you more
yeah, for sure. And that's what I was about to
feeling?
say. We're all Delta Squad here, right? So it's hard for anybody to talk about SI without FI because they kind of go together. And so it's hard to say, I like this or I don't like this and unstrip that, and talk just SI or talk FI because in my mind, being the masculine, to try to answer your question, it's pretty staunchly established.
Yeah.
And FI is a huge aid. I think for everybody, memories an aid, or emotions are an aid to memory. And with masculine FI and masculine SI, they kind of they almost merge together to me. To your point, Laura. And I can discreetly I know very certainly what I like and what I maybe don't like. But in terms of like SI and the personalization part, of course, that's part and parcel again, I suppose, right? Because along the way, as I'm experiencing the sensory world, my FI is in play always. And it's creating an impression and it's creating memory and it's creating ways of organizing things that I'll retain from myself.
Mm-hmm. So it kind of leads me to another point. I kind of maybe wanted to talk about the modalities of the animals. Because like I have masculine SIFI sleep, but then but opposite I have FF NT play, and then like for Anna and Linda it's the reverse. So maybe just kind of talk about like how your play and how your sleep works for you in your life. I don't mean to put you
If
on the
possible,
spot.
with some feminine SI again.
Okay. All right.
That's a lot to ask.
I mean, I can.
Well,
I mean,
I can do the NT play because that's a savior.
Okay.
I will leave Anna to start with the double feminine sleep because that's a demon for me. So she probably has a better sense of it than I do. The NT play, like I noticed mine and like different from yours, Brian, is that you go gather a lot more than I do. Whereas I feel an obligation to figure things out. Like I feel like that's what I need to do is figure out things for other people. It's like I'm not going to go ask someone for something. I'm going to do it myself. Like I'm going to figure out this puzzle, and then I will tell them about it. But yeah, I'm not going bugging anybody. I'm not asking anybody for anything. I'm going to look it up on the map myself.
okay. Yeah, I think it's kind of the opposite for me. It's like I'll go to people to help figure this out. I can't figure it out. You can help me figure it out. I can get your ideas and then I can solve things. I think I'm kind of more, because I'm feminine TE, I think I'm more pulling things out of people, and maybe masculine TE is kind of more pushing the TE on people. You think that's accurate?
Like
here I go doing it again. Do you think this is accurate? Do you think this is good?
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
I see the masculine TE more as it has to be reasonable and logical to me. And if I can't work out how it's reasonable and logical, then I will keep asking questions because like I SINE want to see it from their point of view, because it's like, okay, what am I missing that this is logical to you, but it's not logical to me? But it's like, I would never just kind of like take someone's word for it that something makes sense. Like I need to know, I need to understand. I will pester you with a million questions until you give me enough reasons and connections until I finally understand what you're seeing from your point of view.
Okay. And I mean, I guess I can relate to that part of it. Now, maybe with TE being feminine, maybe I'm not quite as shovey about it, and maybe there's some SI in there as well that I'm that I'm doing that with.
I do not relate. I will take someone's word for it and run with it. And then, masculine DE tell people about something that is not necessarily founded in anything.
Yeah, no, if I'm telling somebody something, it makes sense to me. Like I see the exact logic that goes with it. Otherwise, I would not say it.
Well, that's probably a good thing because I have NT play last and I'm not solving anything. I don't feel responsible. I don't want to. I will TE delegate it to somebody else who I know is get better. Like my husband. So
you know, I get so excited if there's a puzzle to solve. Oh my God, so exciting. It's like, tell me all the details. I need to hear everything.
Well, that's like probably the part that's exciting to me is the like ST blast. I want to tell you about something useful that I know. Product reviews. I'm like the ultimate salesperson sometimes over that stuff.
Yeah, so how does the feminine SI, I don't want to be bored to get back to that, but how does that play in terms of your profession as a product developer? What is it as an asset to you? Because you do that really well, so it's playing to your advantage some way. Do you have a finger on how?
Yeah, sure. So as a product designer, I mean, it really does not serve anyone to have like go down deep into a path. There's a lot of collaboration when you work with a large teams. So it's really handy to be TE in that way, but use SI order to organize all your files and your structures. And I create color palettes and series of files, and everything is very organized for everybody to use. So I'm like maintaining systems a lot, and that's really handy for the team. And I want to be DE useful to the team. But you don't want to commit too far into one idea that you have. And thank goodness I don't naturally do that anyway. I'm just always throwing stuff out, and I'm not a perfectionist. I will never deliver anything at 100%. There's really no need for me to do that because other people will pitch in their input anyway. So it's a very good fit professionally. And of course, yeah, the visuals, the colors, the composition, all of that stuff comes easily.
Linda, does it factor into your world in any similar way, or?
I think like the SI, especially with the blast lead, it's like what I end up being really good at is someone can like ramble off consume story to me for like half an hour, and then I can just summarize it in a few sentences. So is this what you were experiencing during all of that? And then a lot of times it's like, yes, that's it exactly. So it's like I can narrow it down to what is the essence, what are they telling me here, what's the meaning behind all of these words, rather than getting drawn too much into the specific SI words themselves. It's like I'm trying to see it from what are the words pointing to, because that's what's real, is what it's pointing to, not the word itself.
Yeah, I can see that being very helpful. Very nice.
Yeah, I think the masculine N would help there, because I think with a masculine S, sometimes they do get too hung up over individual words. Well, no, you didn't. You said this word, not that word. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had to watch myself.
Blast too definitely helps, because you can take somebody's long consumed story and kind of narrow it down to a more specific point and kind of help them get on track.
Yeah, I'm kind of realizing in the moment here, it's like when I first started doing what I currently do, I would try to look for what I call a hot word in something somebody said over a long narrative. And then I would, like, as Linda said, summarize or ask a question to open that up, right? And then at some point, though, I kind of pivoted. It's just my crazy brain. I call it an energy spot. And again, instead of a very specific word, it was kind of like a theme of words instead. So when I heard you talking about your summary skills, and when you're listening to a bunch of consumer report, Linda, I kind of saw myself maybe doing something similar along the way, moving closer to maybe a feminine SI-like approach to it than what I had done at the beginning, 2005, 2016 timeframe.
Yeah, I think though with the feminine SI, I think it's more changeable. So it's like if someone says, no, that's not quite it, it's like, I'll throw it out. I don't care about whatever it is I just came up with. And so then NT come up with, well, what about this? Because I'm also hearing kind of this in there too. And so it's like I'm not stuck on whatever solution or whatever ideas I come up with. Those are all expendable. It's more about the iterative process of coming up with better and better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're going to move on to personalization, but before we do, is there anything else you think might be insightful for feminine SI perspective? Okay. All right, good. So I got to have the whiteboard, right? So personalization. In our last episode with David Ball People, we talked a little bit about some generic components of SI, and personalization of the narrowing, of the organizing, etc., is definitely a trait of OI-SI. And so I'm just wondering, what's your personal experience about personalization of SI? Any one of you guys? And Laura, you too, because heck,
Okay,
this is just SI. This is not feminine now.
Well, this is, I mean, I think it's just kind of relating the SI to my own experience and maybe not checking in with other people or just having my own way of organizing or narrowing it down that makes sense, that works for me personally, regardless of others.
So the regardless of others kind of jumps out to me there. Does that jump out to either you guys, Linda, Anna?
Yeah, it's like in the specific like things that I feel like have a piece of my soul in them are like very personal to me. It's like literally feels like there's a piece of my soul in this object. But at the same time, it's like I know some people, if they lose or break something that's really that personal to them, they will just fall apart. But it's like, while I love the thing, if I lose it or it breaks, it's not something that really upsets me that much, because it's like I can just go find something else that reminds me of the same memory or the same person. Like the sensory itself is replaceable because I can find something else that can serve the same purpose, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and it could just be, T above F too, because it's kind of, I wonder if you're like Savior SI and Savior SI, or I mean Savior SI and Savior F5, if things are more personal, that way.
Yeah, it could very well be, especially if they're both, if they were masculine too, right? Well, that would be really amplified.
Yeah, that would be really solid.
Yeah, because I know it's sleep last for me, but it's extremely pronounced and very vivid from myself. Anything personalized, like I'm gonna offer an example that I had a high school friend of mine where I lived in South Louisiana. We had a reunion that was coming up, and he told me he was selling little miniature baseball bats, like sometimes Major League. They put their logo on it and they'll sell it. He was lathing it, just doing his exercise. And so he had some cypress wood. So I said, hey, would you make me a baseball bat? So he did. And here's the baseball bat that he made me on his lathe out of cypress wood from our hometown. And so we had the reunion coming up. So I decided I'll just bring it with me and I'll have some of my close friends from high school sign it for me. And so here it is. So that's when I think of personalization of something from the past, that's an impression that I'm retaining from the sensory experience. This baseball bat is something that comes to mind for myself. I'm wondering if y'all have something similar to that you might do. Anna, you're shaking your head no, so go ahead.
No, I like to throw things out. I like to have very few things. I like bare walls. The photos on my walls don't have a lot of meaning, but more aesthetic. They are superficial. I bought them at H&M or West Elm or whatever. I want to update frequently. There's nothing in this house that's, you know, older than 2 or 3 years old. I don't, older things don't make me happy, other than photos. And so I spent quite a long time processing, scanning, and retouching thousands of photos from my parents' and grandparents' time. So I have that neatly OI organized in a box, literally in my hard drive, and then that's it. That's it. Yeah, in a box.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of similar. Yeah, I guess it's kind of similar for myself. Like, I don't have a whole lot of objects. I mean, in my childhood, I did. I think I was kind of more into like, you know, like saving my papers from school and stuff like that. Or if my friend gave me a gift or something, I'd save them. And now it's kind of like, you know, it's like, okay, why am I holding on? Why am I holding on to this? I've kind of moved on from that. But with photos, yeah, I do like saving old photos and looking at old photos. And you know, and I do display a few photos like of my family, of my nephews. So here's a younger one of my nephews, if you can see that.
Oh, awesome.
Oh,
Yeah, they're a bit older. They're a bit older now. So yeah, so the older one is now 8 and the younger one is now 5. But
Sweet.
yeah, I do kind of keep my photos on a flash drive, and I have them neatly sorted into different folders. And I guess where the personalization comes in is kind of my own system of organization. It may not be the system that somebody else uses. That's kind of what I meant when I said not checking in with others. Now, of course, because I'm Savior TE, if it's something that somebody else is going to use, well, yeah, then I'm definitely going to check in with others so that, you know, anybody can find what they're looking for. But if it's just for myself, I kind of have my own methods I use.
I think I enforce my methods on others. I'm like, this is the best. I've been doing this a lot at work lately. Like, you know what project management systems are, right? So like Asana, and there's a bunch of them on that are free online. So like create a task, move your task from progress to done and all this stuff. Anyway, I'm testing them a lot. I'm like TE testing them. And every few months, I decide I'm moving to the next one because it doesn't serve me the way I need it to. But with that, of course, is the unfortunate thing of having to update everyone else. And that makes everyone else frustrated. Whereas I'm, you know, happy to move along and redo the whole system and figure it out myself. But I like impose my system on everyone else. Okay, guys, we're moving. They're like, what? We just got here. So a little bit of a struggle there at the office.
So you personalize your systems and they're yours, right? And it'd be really nice if everybody else would just come along for the ride, right?
Well, they
Use
are
your systems.
Yes, I'm asking them to use my system, and I keep under the guise, of course, that we can change whatever you want, and you know, let's move things around and all this stuff. But nobody wants to maintain systems except for me. So they're like, okay, we'll just do it Anna's way.
It's working, correct?
Slowly, getting
Right.
people on board is the hardest part.
So Linda, what kind of personalization stories or anecdotes you have for us?
For me, like the personalization things are all people related. So it's because they remind me of a person and like a moment, and it's like it reminds me of the feeling. because it's like I can't go, like it doesn't work for me. I can't go through my memory and recall exactly what I felt because it's that recall thing. But you know, I'll remember things if I keep like little things. So this I carry in my purse with me. My daughter had started an Etsy business and was selling these like little squishies. Of course, she started it even though I said no, because she was not taking no for an answer. But it's like I look at this and it reminds me of like when she kept pressing me to start it and I kept saying no because I knew I was going to end up having to run it for her, but then she went ahead and did it anyway and she followed through on it. And so it just has good feelings with it that I wouldn't necessarily think of. I wouldn't go back to that moment in time, except for when like I run across this as I'm looking through my bag for something. And then it's like I had a friend send me for my birthday this year, like a keychain. And so it's just I keep a little keychain with me because it's like it just reminds me of my friend. And it's like, okay, we're holding hands because I'm holding the keychain. So it's all this kind of sentimental stuff. But otherwise, I wouldn't store things because every time I want to put something in storage, I think, will I ever remember that this is here? And almost always the answer is no. So I just chuck it. Because there's no point in saving it if I'm not even going to remember it was there and I'm just going to go buy a new one anyway.
So maybe I could play off of that a little bit. Because if I remember stuff too well, I might keep stuff I don't need to keep, right?
Holding on to things.
And I do that. I hold on to a lot more than what I need to. So I might have to give that some thought.
Because you might use it again someday?
Yes. I collect things just in case I'm going to need them. And Anna, you don't do that at all, do you?
Hold on to
And
I will never remember I had it.
I mean, and I'm kind of in between. It's like I will remember that I had it. Usually, if it's something I rarely use, I may or may not remember where it is. But I remember, like, I used to teach chemistry at a community college before I became a librarian. And so I had several boxes of like books and binders and materials from teaching. And I remember I held on to them for several years because it's like, well, what if I were to teach again? And finally, I just tossed it because it's like, first of all, the odds are really low that I would teach it again. And even if I did, the book would be different, the materials would be different, it would be in a different place. Why am I holding on to this? Finally,
oh man, you guys are really setting off
some
got rid of in my head.
Yeah.
What I need to get rid of a lot of stuff.
Because it's like, if I ever need something like that, I could just probably access it online. Why do I need all these physical textbooks that are taking space?
All my mechanical engineering notes and books are in the top of the garage, and all my MBA stuff is in the top of the closet. And that stuff all needs to go, right? I've never looked at any of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I didn't either. And when I was teaching, it's like I never looked at it once, and it's like, why am I holding on to this? It's like, yeah. It's kind of like I try to tell my mom and dad that because they tend to want to save everything, and I'm like, do you really need all these things? Because they're very much like, well, just in case.
I think it's probably because I have so much NI as well. I mean NE in me. I collect too much, but there's that SI too saying, hey, you should keep all this stuff because you might need it sometime. And I know exactly where to find it if I do need it, because there it is. Financial accounting. I know where it's at. I know where the leadership class is. There it is. But have I ever looked at it? Not in the last 10 years.
I mean, maybe there's a threshold if you haven't looked at it in 3 years.
and of course I know that myself. I could give myself that lecture, but I still don't do it, right?
Yeah.
I will come over and we will.
Well, I think I read like some rule about like clothes in your closet or something. Like if you haven't worn it within the last 6 months, you're probably not going to miss it. Now, maybe there could be a few exceptions for like
weather,
really dressy stuff that they're only for special occasions, or or something that's just seasonal that you're only going to wear during the winter or the summer, you know, depending on where you live. But
You guys know the hanger trick?
I think that's generally true. Yeah.
Yeah.
The hanger trick.
Oh, is that what you were talking about? Sorry.
Oh, no. Well, no,
tell us about the hanger trick.
Clothes in a closet in about 6 months.
Yeah, well, if you turn all of your hangers in the opposite direction, and then slowly as you use things, you put them back in the right direction, then you see which things you haven't used at the end of.
Wow. Yeah, I've never.
See, I'm actually good at that though, because I you know, the Goodwill people will come and they'll put a note on the door, and I'll clean house. So I can go in the closet and like, remember, I wear this, I don't wear this. This is a good convenient excuse to do it. So I think I just need to force more of those events into my life at a higher frequency. So I won't need the hanger trick. I'll
If
just
more
need
stuff
forcing
keeps
function.
coming in. Yeah.
Yeah. So what about like we're talking SI here, and I can't help but think it's like, of course this is stereotype, right? But I want to know any thoughts about organizing, like the Martha Stewart effect, so to speak. And I'm looking at you, Anna, a little bit because we talked about this before. But for anybody, you know, what is your thoughts on the association that I have or that other people have there, and is it meritable?
Is it, what did you say, manageable or marriageable?
Meritable. Does it make sense?
Oh, meritable. I thought you said marriageable. Like, do you want to marry a Martha Stewart?
No,
Everybody wants to marry a Martha Stewart.
I just want her staff.
You want her staff?
Yeah. And I
That
would
would be
organize like
good.
her.
That
I've
would
had
be
her
really
staff.
I mean, just organizing physical things is just, you know, my SF sleep. It's my baby. It's the thing I do all the time. When I want to wind down, I do the laundry. It's like antithetical to most people. It helps me calm down and relax. Or like, I need to, you know, there's more stuff in the medicine cabinet. I'm going to OI that today. Like there's too much stuff in there. Or, you know, I need to put little labels on things, or I need to decant the groceries. Like it just, these are all therapy for me, and they always have been. Since I was like 3 years old, my mom would tell me how I would take the laundry and lay it out on the couch, like as if I'm playing, you know, selling the clothes or some kind of thing, but I'd organize them by color and by object and all this stuff. So it was always a thing. And I was always an only child, loved to be by myself, loved to doodle by myself, loved to organize blocks by myself. So it's just.
But do you identify with that career that she has and that stereotype of her? Do you see some overlap with yourself in that?
With what? Sorry.
With Martha Stewart, you know, the simple living, the organized, everything's clean and aesthetic.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. If I wasn't in product design, which is just probably the most lucrative option for me, I'd be like a home designer, or like a what do you call those, home edit girls, the Netflix show. You guys watch that stuff?
I think like professional organizers.
Professional organizers, yeah, I'd be all into that.
Or are these like those people like on Hoarders or whatever? Then they come to your house and then they like totally revamp it.
If you're on Hoarders, then that's a condition. But if you just do not maintain a system, that's what I like to call it, at home, then there's a lot of good SD blasting that I love to do. Like do the SF and then blast it out to people in need of my services. But yeah, it definitely manifests in that way. I love to think about how to best, like, what is the user experience of spaces and things. Like if you without thinking, you're always, you know, throwing your keys into the same spot, but it's not like a designated area for your, you know, quick keys, wallet, trinkets, whatever you need there, like a little dish or something. Like make it a zone. or dedicate a zone to specific things that you do around the house as you like walk through it, essentially. You know, if there's always one chair that you throw your laundry on, make it a zone, put the basket there, or whatever it is you need to do. And I really think that helps people like maintain the system. Of course, maintaining it also means that you can't, like with every new item that you bring into your home, it needs to have a place, because otherwise it will be that pile of new accumulated things. So make sure there's a place for the new things you bring into your house. Or if you don't, when you realize your closet's full, that's the perfect time to remove things. And that's the best way I demonstrate to my husband that he has too much stuff literally overflowing in the closet. I'm folding it Marie Kondo style, and there's still too much stuff. There's no room for stuff. And so I ask for a purge every once in a while.
You decant the groceries and you ask for a purge. I shove the groceries in the pantry. I hope that it just stays up, like I wedge things against each other, because it's like someone's just going to take it out of there soon. So why am I going to make it look pretty? Because they're not going to put it back wherever I put it anyway. And then I would have to go through and throw out things that are expired, and I'm not doing that anytime soon. So, yeah, definitely the play above sleep makes a big difference, because I admire that kind of organization. And I will start it, but then there's so many organizing projects that are started and have been given up 2 steps in because I have other things I want to go to.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty amazing, you know, talking about organization, and you know, you said everything has a space or a zone or a containerized spot for it, right? There's a theme in your mind, and you want, hey, this is where it goes. Put it there. Let's make this easy, right? But amongst the 4 of us, you know, we all have SI, and it's substantially so. But it plays to so many different flavors and nuances. It's pretty fascinating, and it works to show the example of like the stereotypes. You know, they're inadequate, right? Because the 4 of us and how we manage our space and our organizing and personalizations are quite varied.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
those are the main things we were going to chat about today. Has anybody got anything else they want to add to the conversation?
Forever, but this is a good cutoff.
Should we talk a little bit about our next episode?
Oh yeah, that. You wants to talk about the script again, huh? Kim from the community is going to join us on the next episode. We're gonna the theme there, generally speaking, we haven't pressed it down completely, but is going to be about careers, academics, and work in SI. So you know, Kim's always a lot of fun. She'll come with a lot of energy and a lot of good metaphors and Kimisms, as I like to call them. So I'm looking forward to that for sure.
I like that.
Yeah, she's got tons of them. So that's what's coming next for you. And other than that, we have a set of people that have kind of generally have assignments. And beyond that episode, Habib and Jason are going to come on after that and talk about tips to typing and seeing SI when you're doing the typing exercises, either celebrities or community members. So that's the one beyond that. And then after that, I could tell you, but I don't want to bore you.
And Habib is SCTE, so he'll bring the SE perspective, and then Jason is TESI like Brian. So you can kind of get typing tips, you know, if you have SI versus if you have SE, because I think different methods are going to work better for different types.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they have to say there.
I am
those
too,
distinctions, you know, the different axes and how they play. It'll be fascinating. And they'll both bring a lot because, you know, they've both been, well, Habib's been doing it for several years, and he's, you know, got a really good performance. Jason's more new to it, but he's attacking it like crazy.
But he's really dedicated. So
oh, yes. He's doing the work. I joke to him, and I consume cheat, but he's supposedly consumed last, but he's consuming better than I am on that stuff. So credit to him. So that's what we got coming up in the next couple episodes. And there'll
And
be more
then-
beyond that.
Yep. So if you want to see more SI Lab episodes, subscribe to my channel, hit that bell for notifications. I'm also going to be having a few other videos coming up. I'm going to be doing a 3-part series on ISTJs. So the first video in that series will be looking at standard ISTJs versus ISTJ jumpers. So I'll be interviewing a couple of ISTJs, and then the second one will be animal stacks in ISTJs, and the third one will be modalities in ISTJs. So stay tuned for that as well.
Awesome.
Most excellent.
Thank you so
Sounds
much,
good.
Anna and Linda, for being guests on our show. I loved hearing your insights into feminine SI and how